So, Android launchers. They can be a very good thing indeed, adding fresh features to your Android blower, maybe allowing for deeper customization. But they can also slow down your and be a bit janky and bombard you with endless notifications, the kind of stuff that makes you just want to pull out your pocket hammer and smash it to smithereens. If you happen to have a pocket hammer, that is. I lived in Sunderland, so I never leave home without it. And yes, here's my pick of the very best stock Android smartphones right now if you can't be arsed with any of that launcher hassle. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now your first choice when it comes to stock Android smartphones should always be Google's own Pixel blowers. And right now you've got a choice of three, the most affordable of which is this here Pixel 7a, which will cost you 449 GBPs. Or you can upgrade to the Pixel 7 or even the mega-sized Pixel 7 Pro if your wallet is getting a bit weighty. Most people should be perfectly happy with the Pixel 7a, which boasts similar specs to the Pixel 7 and some of the best camera tech at this price point, so you can point and shoot and get great looking pics day or night. And the Pixel 7a boasts another benefit, the fact that it is a proper pocket pleaser at just 6.1 inches. You don't get a premium glass finish like with its siblings, but it still looks and feels great. And it is water resistant too, so no worries if it gets super damp. Packed into the Pixel 7a's plastic frame is Google's own Tensor 2 chipset, and that's the same bit of tech that powers the flagship phones. This can handle everything up to and including some hot Genshin action, although the Pixel 7a can get a wee bit toasty at times. That OLED screen is a stunner, now boasting a creamy smooth 90Hz refresh rate, and you got a stereo speaker setup so your flicks sound as good as they look. And of course, as this is a Google handset, you've got a lovely stock Android finish with guaranteed timely updates for years to come. Plus those brilliant Pixel exclusive features like the call screening, which is worth its bloody weight in gold. For this price, it's one of the best mid-range phones right now, never mind one of the best stock Android handsets. Now if you've got a bit more cash and you want some more premium tech, well, you might want to chuck a little bit more cash Google's way for a flagship Pixel. Both the Pixel 7 and the Pixel 7 Pro upgrade the primary camera sensor to a 50 meg quad Bayer effort. This definitely proves more capable in ambient lighting, and also you've got a more dependable focus. You've once again got Google's fresh Tensor G2 chipset plus extra memory on the Pro model. And although it's no Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and the Pixel 7 handsets can occasionally heat up a bit, these phones will cope with anything you chuck at them. And as for the media chops, well, these flagships once again serve up some stunning AMOLED screen tech. 90Hz on the Pixel 7 and 120Hz on the Pro, plus you get an upgraded Quad HD Plus resolution. And of course, like the Pixel 7a, you've got that gorgeous stock Android experience with years of updates to come. You've also got wireless charging support, again like the Pixel 7a, but the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro boast faster wired charging support, and if you upgrade to that Pro model, you've got an almighty 5000 mAh battery. That said, any of these Pixel phones should last you the full day, even with several hours of screen on time. And I have done a full side-by-side Pixel 7a versus 7 versus 7 Pro comparison if you want to see what the differences between them all are. And if you happen to own a massive room filled with money like Scrooge McDuck, you might be interested in Google's latest Pixel-y phone, the Pixel Fold, which, to be fair, will set you back about $2,000. It's a very similar setup to Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold blowers, except as you can see they're a bit more squat, which I actually quite like, makes it a bit more compact. And anyway, I'll be bringing you a full Google Pixel Fold review hopefully shortly. If for whatever reason you don't particularly fancy a Pixel, but you do want a compact blower like that Pixel 7a, well, the one that you want might well be the fresh new Asus Zenfone 10. This sub 6-inch smartphone is proper wee, even dinkier than the Pixel 7a, but with the same super slick stock Android experience, with the option of adding in some Zen UI bonuses if you fancy it. But don't judge the Zenfone 10 on its size, because that top-notch hand feel and effortless one-handed action is just the cherry on the huge f***off ice cream sundae. This is a flagship blower through and through, no questions at all, packing Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset for proper beefcake performance, as well as absolutely ruzzy incredible battery life, among the very best in this roundup. Although don't expect the same level of software support from Asus as what Google is giving its Pixel users. What you've got here is 2 OS updates and 3 years of security updates. And the camera tech isn't quite as good either, struggling in more taxing conditions. But if you're absolutely sick of enormous oversized blowers, and you want something a bit more hand-friendly without sacrificing that clean Android experience, well, the Zenfone 10 is a bloody solid choice. And if you're after a stock Android smartphone, another quite jazzy alternative is Colpay's Nothing Phone 1, which sports the most talked about rear end since Beyonce. Yes, all of the headlines are focused on that flash and disco bollocks known as the glyph lighting. It is basically just a glorified notifications light though. And you'll find if you dive on beneath the literally very flashy exterior, you'll find a serious competitor to that Google Pixel 6 action. Performance is much better here compared with the Pixel 6a for gaming, while you once again have a gorgeous OLED display, this time with faster refresh. That camera tech is pretty bloody good too, coming close to the Pixel a lot of the time and rarely chucking up a bad looking pic. And you've even got support for wireless charging, something that's missing from Google's mid-range Pixel. The Nothing launcher does tweak the aesthetics with a too cool for school dot matrix design, and the less said about those wallpapers and ringtones, the better. But otherwise, this is stock Android through and through, with 3 years of guaranteed Android OS updates and 4 years of security support as well, so definitely an improvement on that Zenfone. Gotta say, when I first reviewed the Nothing Phone 1, the battery life was pretty cack, and the face recognition worked about as well as a chocolate dildo. But thankfully, updates have sorted out these problems, so now it is one of the better Pixel rivals out there. And Nothing has just launched a fresh new, more premium version of the Nothing Phone 1, currently called the Nothing Phone 2. Although actually a more appropriate name would have been the Nothing Phone Plus, because it's not actually replacing the original Nothing Phone. It's just an alternative option if you've got a bit more cash to hoy at Colpay & Co, and you fancy something a bit more beefy, a bit more jazzy, a bit more all that. The Nothing Phone 2 is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which means smoother performance for longer. While that slightly larger battery combined with the energy efficient chipset means you'll get a wee bit longer out of every charge. I certainly never once ran out of juice before I was all tucked up with Teddy while I was reviewing the Nothing Phone 2. You've got a bigger and brighter display, you've got upgraded rear and front cameras, and that glyph disco lighting has been redesigned with even more zones than before and some nifty new features chucked in. So overall, the Nothing Phone 2 is certainly a solid rival to the Pixel 7, and go check out my full review for all you need to know. Now, Motorola is another mobile manufacturer who loves to slap a bit of stock Android on all of its smartphones, and if you've got plenty of cash stuffed under your mattress, well, I highly recommend checking out the fresh new Moto Edge 40 Pro. There's no 200 meg camera slapped on here unlike the previous flagship, but that 50 meg shooter does a proper job in even quite taxing conditions. And you've also got a 50 meg ultra wide and a telephoto snapper for a bit of flexibility. The Motorola Edge 40 Pro also serves up an almighty 6.67 inch 165Hz OLED screen and stereo speakers, slapped into a stunning and skinny chassis. And it's not just a looker either, this moto blower is powered by a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so it is a proper beefy bugger. There's also space for a 4600 mAh battery with 125 watt wired charging support and a bit of wireless charging as well if you want it. Not to mention up to half a terabyte of storage. And last year's Motorola Edge 30 Ultra is still available, sporting very similar specs, plus that 200 meg snapper. So if you see a good deal on it, it could well be worth a punt. Now, if that's all too much tech for your face to handle, or you don't have quite enough cash for the Pro or the Ultra, well, no worries. You can always nab yourself the regular Motorola Edge 40 for almost 300 quid less than that Pro model. This more affordable option is powered by MediaTek's still pretty beefy Dimensity 8020 and boasts premium bits like a 144Hz POLED screen and a capable 50 meg camera. The battery has only shrunk slightly versus that Pro effort, with 68 watt wired charging and 15 watt wireless charging to juice it back up. And all of that is wrapped up in a strokeably delightful vegan leather frame. You can also grab the slightly more sedate Moto Edge 30 Fusion, which again boasts a 50 meg main camera that's absolutely fine for everyday photography. Performance is smooth enough with an older Snapdragon 888 Plus chipset running the show, while the 4400 mAh capacity battery puts in a proper shift, giving you all day play, no worries. You've also got 68 watt wired charging, which fills a backup in a jiffy, although sadly no wireless charging support here on the Fusion. Then there's the Moto Edge 30 Neo, a pleasingly compact 6.28 inch blower similar to the Zenfone 9 and Pixel 7a. This comes in special colours handpicked by Motorola's latest partner Pantone, including this spangly Very Peri option. Around the other side is a gorgeous 120Hz POLED display, although the Neo serves up more basic performance than its siblings with a Snapdragon 695 running the show. There's still enough grunt to run the latest games, albeit on lower graphics settings if they're proper memory guzzlers like Genshin Impact. On the flip side, the Neo is considerably cheaper than the other two Moto Edge smartphones I just banged on about just then, and the 4000 mAh capacity battery, while a little bit smaller, still offers good returns, helped by the more energy efficient platform, and you've got that 68-watt wired charging and full wireless charging support here as well, unlike the more expensive Fusion. However, the 64 meg primary camera sensor lags behind similarly priced rivals such as the Pixel 7a, so if photography is a priority for you, I'd say go Google. And I also gotta say, in my experience so far, that Motorola isn't quite as dependable as Google and some of its other rivals when it comes to the software updates, so if that's a big thing for you, you might be swayed elsewhere. Now, if you're partial to a bendy blower, well, Motorola will happily drain your savings account with its rather lush RAZR 40 Ultra. This latest RAZR reboot is comfortably Motorola's best foldable, and indeed one of the best compact flippy phones you can grab in 2023. The Ultra model boasts a wanging great 3.6-inch POLED cover screen with 144Hz refresh support, convenient for quickly fiddling about in any of your apps, or simply replying to messages without going to all the effort of actually unfolding the bugger. But if you do actually put your thumb through the somewhat grueling exercise of flipping the RAZR 40 Ultra open, well, your peepers will be greeted with a glorious internal 6.9-inch OLED panel. It's once again a gorgeous poppy display, this time with LTPO tech, so that refresh rate scales all the way up from bugger all to a silky smooth 165Hz. And that's backed by respectable stereo speakers. It's the same slick stock Android experience as what you get with non-bendy Motorola blowers, with a few extra features packed in there to take advantage of that enlarged cover display, including some fun wee time wasters which are surprisingly addictive. The battery life is actually decent for a foldable if you're not too demanding, and of course that Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset keeps everything running smoothly. It's only the less than fantastic camera tech and the fact that the price tag ain't exactly affordable that might turn people away from this otherwise rather ruddy good Moto mobile. And if you don't happen to have the cash for any of these Motorola smartphones, what I've been telling you about, well, no worries, maybe try the Moto G82 instead, which costs under 300 quid here in Blighty. The highlight here is that gorgeous OLED screen. It's another 120Hz 10-bit eye pleaser, backed by stereo speakers for a merry old Netflix session. You've got a big old 5000 mAh capacity battery, you've got expandable storage, and performance comes courtesy of Qualcomm's Snapdragon 695. Not the beefiest chipset around, so no one's going to be dribbling into their neck flesh thinking about all of that raw power, but it is good enough for gaming on Call of Duty and PUBG, and even Genshin Impact can run at an alright nip at the lowest graphics settings. The Motorola G82's 50 megapixel primary camera sensor comes with optical image stabilization built in, and it's a pretty decent everyday snapper. That stabilization helps out in dimmer light, and you get sharp, colourful results the rest of the time. If you can look past the limited software support, the Moto G82 is a banger at this price with a lovely stock Android vibe to boot. And for even less cash than the Moto G82, you can snap for yourself the Moto G62. This plastic slab boasts water repellent design so it can get splashed without exploding, and you've got all the usual features including NFC, a headphone jack and micro SD support. Plus, of course, you've got all the Motorola's bonus bits chucked on here, like the dedicated gaming mode and the excellent karate double chop to turn on the torch feature, which I bloody love. The 6.5-inch IPS screen ain't nothing special, but it does support 120Hz refresh, while the Snapdragon 480 Plus chipset is good enough for your everyday shenanigans and some light gaming, while also offering 5G support natch. The 5000 mAh battery keeps you going all day too, no matter what you're up to. And the camera may struggle in testing conditions, but it does pack in Motorola's AI smarts to help you capture the best pics possible. And last up, if you're after an affordable stock Android smartphone, well, definitely check out Nokia's latest blowers. One of the best right now is the Nokia X30 5G, an eco-friendly mobile built from a fully recycled aluminium frame and mostly recycled plastics. Packed inside of this tree-hugging body is that Snapdragon 695 chipset, which once again does the job for gaming. While the 6.43-inch OLED display and the stereo speaker setup means good times when streaming a bit of the Disney Pluses or even your Uncle Spurt here on YouTube. Manufacturer HMD Global is rather generously guaranteeing 3 OS updates beyond Android 12, so that means you're covered all the way up to Android 15, so hopefully you won't be hoying this phone in the bin after just a year or two because it's out of date. And they're also chucking in a 3-year warranty as well, so no worries if it muffs up. The 50meg camera features built-in optical image stabilization, and it's one of the better snappers found on a Nokia smartphone, working well even in quite low light, if again not quite up to those pixel standards. Like some of its other mid-range rivals here, the Nokia X30 is fully water resistant as well, and while the 4200 mAh capacity battery can't be charged wirelessly, unfortunately, it will at least see you through a full day of use, no problems at all. As long as you're not constantly bashing those annoying little gribbly hill troll things in Genshin Impact, of course. The Nokia G60 5G is another respectable everyday smartphone for just 300 quid, with the added bonus that it's mostly constructed from recycled materials, so making one doesn't tit up the planet as much as other phones. And with quite a few years of OS and security updates guaranteed as well, hopefully you won't have to hoy it in the bin and replace it with another one in double quick time. The Nokia G60 is powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 695, so once again this phone breezes through most tasks with a spring in its step and doesn't disintegrate if you try playing games either. That 6.58-inch screen is mere IPS tech sadly, but it's not a bad panel, still quite poppy, if not quite as bright as I would have liked. Battery life is as good as most of the phones in this best budget roundup, where you get plenty of extra perks like expandable storage and an actual headphone jack. And while the Nokia G60 5G isn't a patch on the Pixel and quite a few others here for photography, it's still fine as long as the lighting isn't being a proper dick. Strong contrast and dim conditions are not this phone's friend. And that right there, my lovelies, is my roundup of the very best stock Android smartphones that you can grab yourself right now in 2023. Now, I might have missed off your own favourites. Definitely clue me in as to what a massive knobber I am down below and let us know what your pick of the best stock Android phones is, or depending on how many you have. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a ruddy great rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.